What's up everybody, welcome back. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Sneasler in the Open Ultra League. Obviously, Sneasler being the evolved form of the newly introduced Hisuiain version of Sneasel. And honestly, this thing's not bad. It's actually ranked 51 on PvPoke for Ultra League, and it's definitely an upgrade over Toxicroak because it's ranked higher than Toxicroak. And it doesn't require XL candies to build, so it's definitely a lot more cost-effective version of Toxicroak, and better at that because it has a pretty solid moveset with Shadow Claws, its fast move, with X-Scissor and Close Combat as its charge moves. It's got some pretty solid coverage against majority of the Ultra League meta, right? And for this particular team comp, I'm going to be using Cresselia as the lead with Alolan Muck as the safe swap to basically bait out the Swampert, which is going to be probably the most common threat for Sneasler in the Ultra League meta, so that Sneasler has a pretty clear path to sweep towards endgame there. So again, I went positive with this team. We had some really fun battles in here, and let's get straight into it. Moving on to the first battle here, we have a Cresselia into the mirror. I'm forced to stay in right now because Sneasler obviously has a pretty poor matchup against Cresselia. They make a switch into their Charizard, I go into my Alolan Muck. Honestly, this team doesn't have a hard counter for the fire flying types like Charizard and Talonflame because, both Cresselia and Sneasler don't have great matchups against it. Alolan Muck is my only it's not even a counter, it's basically my only neutral play against fire flying types, so I'm going to have to probably combo play it at this point. And I shield the first Blast Burn here, and we get the Snarl through, so I should be able to live this next Blast Burn just barely as the Fire Spin comes through. I'm just going to go for the Dark Pulse here. This should force the first shield from Charizard, and unfortunately we're not able to win Switch Advantage. That's okay. I'm going to basically come into my Sneasler and fully farm down this Charizard here. Again, Sneasler with an energy advantage can be absolutely devastating. Even if the Cresselia comes back in, we're going to be able to hit for super effective with Shadow Claw and X-Scissor as well. And let's see what they come in. They actually come in with their Obstagoon, probably because those Shadow Claws are triple resisted, but we have Close Combat here, and it does get the shield from Obstagoon, and as soon as they realize that, they make a switch into their Cresselia, and I'm going to go into my Cresselia. We have a lot of energy right now, and at this point, all I need to do is play out this mirror, and as long as I can preserve a shield for Sneasler, we should be able to close this out here, because Close Combat should pretty much one-shot the Obstagoon, right? Obviously, this is a very popular line. It is the Obstagoon Cresselia Charizard line, popularized by J-Farm like a couple of years ago, and also popularized by Zionic as well. It was very, very common and very strong like a few seasons back. Probably still is. I guess Talonflame is definitely an upgrade over Charizard, but then again, for people who don't have access to XL candies, Charizard is a great alternative for that in that team comp as well. So anyways, we're just going to try and play this mirror out. Obviously, one of the most long drawn out mirror fights in the Ultra League, but that's okay. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get this Cresselia into basically Shadow Claw farm down range for my Sneasler. We're going to basically soak up this move here and then throw the Moonblast, and as soon as I get off this Moonblast, that should basically put it into Shadow Claw farm down range, right? And at this point, this game should pretty much be over here. I'm going to go for the Moonblast right now. Does quite a bit of damage. I go into my Sneasler, they realize that, and they make a switch into their Obstagoon. This is too soon to be a Hyper Beam, right? Hyper Beam is the only neutral move Obstagoon can go for against Sneasler. As you can see, Night Slash, we comfortably tank that, and yeah, I'm just going to go for the Close Combat here. This is absolutely one-shot the Obstagoon, and then back in comes Cresselia, and even though we're debuffed and those Psycho Cuts are adding up, we're able to Shadow Claw down there. So yeah, pretty close one, honestly. Obstagoon in the back, you'd love to see it. Moving on to the next one here, we have a Talonflame. Honestly, Talonflame, especially on the lead, can be even harder to deal with. Obviously, it's even tougher to go up against than it is to go up against Charizard. I'm just going to switch in my Alolan Muck, and they're still staying in here. It does make sense. Obviously, this is not the worst matchup for Talonflame. I'm just going to try and get off as many Dark Pulses as I can. They go for the first Flame Charge. I'm hoping they go straight Flame Charge and not Brave Bird here, which is nice because we can definitely tank one of those, and I'm definitely going to have to shield the second one here, and I'm hoping that I can get off 2 Dark Pulses before they can get to another move here. So I'm going to overfarm just a little bit. I don't throw an efficient timing there. Probably should have thrown one before, but I go for the Dark Pulse right now, but we're still able to get to this next Dark Pulse here. This is absolutely massive because this is going to force that second shield from Talonflame, and once again, Sneasler with the shield advantage can be absolutely devastating towards endgame. I choose to bring in my Cresselia here because I want to soak up whatever this Talonflame decides to throw. Even if it's a Brave Bird, I don't really care, because again, Cresselia is just here to soak up all the damage, right? From this point, a Brave Bird would KO because it's probably like double or triple boosted, but they actually decide to go straight Flame Charge. We bank the Grass Knot, immediately switching my Sneasler here, and we're able to fully Shadow Claw down. That's massive for me. Out comes Cresselia, and this is not looking good for me, right? Again, because those Psycho Cuts are absolutely tearing through Sneasler because it's doing double super effective damage, but these Shadow Claws and X-Scissors are also really adding up. So I'm just going to try and do as much damage as I can with Sneasler. I'm really hoping I can get off the next X-Scissor as well, which I'm barely able to do as the Psycho Cut comes through. And X-Scissor should be able to take out the Cresselia. Actually doesn't quite take it out, puts it extremely low. So I go for the Grass Knot right away, and luckily we win CMP against Cresselia. So we managed to waste a bunch of their energy there, and they have a Shadow Swampert in the back. The one Pokemon that we could have beaten with such low health, and with the shield advantage, is probably going to be a Shadow Swampert. Even a regular Swampert we probably couldn't have beaten because it doesn't get one shot by a Grass Knot. Unfortunately, there was quite a bit of lag there, which is why we ended up over farming. I was trying to throw the Grass Knot, but it ended up sending extra fast moves through. But it's okay, Grass Knot pretty much one shots the Swampert there, and that's going to take the win for us there. Honestly, got a bit lucky. Anything else outside of Shadow Swampert, we probably would have lost that. So we have a Cresselia into a Swampert right now. You absolutely love to see Swampert in the lead because Cresselia is my only response to a Swampert. I'm expecting them to catch. They try to catch a Grass Knot on their Crobat, so luckily I don't throw. And this is good, right? I have all my Alolan Muck lined up against the Crobat, and honestly Alolan Muck is my only response to a Crobat because obviously Sneasler has a pretty poor matchup against it as well, right? And Alolan Muck is a pretty solid matchup against Crobat because both Poison Fang and Shadow Ball are resisted because of the Dark Poison typing, although those Air Slashes are really adding up, especially after the Poison Fang debuff. So I'm just going to go for the Dark Pulse here. I'm really hoping they let this go through because the one most important thing I need in this matchup is switch advantage. So they let that go through. That's fine. Back in comes Swampert here. They have a lot of loaded energy and they decided that was very good timing on their part. They decided to throw the Hydro Cannon just before we can get to a Dark Pulse. And that's okay. I come into my Cresselia. They try to catch another Grass Knot on their Alolan Muck. That's fine. I go immediately into my Sneasler, and this is perfect for me because we have the counters lined up perfectly. And Sneasler completely walls Alolan Muck, right? Because both Dark and Poison moves are resisted because of the Poison fighting typing. And then, yeah, they just decide to bait with Acid Spray, which typically most Alolan Mucks, especially if they're running Poison Jab, do. And I'm going to shield this up because the Dark Pearls, especially after the defense drop, might KO from this range. Unfortunately, they bait me again with another Acid Spray. So I'm going to overfarm as much as I can and then go for the X-Scissor here, hoping to grab a shield with X-Scissor, and hopefully they think this is just another X-Scissor and they no shield this. So I'm going for the Close Combat right now. I'm really hoping they let this go through because this will one shot. Actually, they do shield that, so this is unfortunate for me. But I'm immediately switching my Cresselia and going for the Moonblast here. And at this point, my only lost con is if I shield up an Acid Spray, right? So I'm going to let this go through here. And it is an Acid Spray. We let that go through. And at this point, I'm just going to go for the Grass Knot right away. I'm not going to overfarm here. I just want to get rid of this Alolan Muck because with the shield advantage, Cresselia should be able to beat the Swampert. The Swampert has a lot of loaded energy right now. They definitely have enough for an Earthquake. I'm going to let this go through. It's going to do a lot of damage though, as it does about 60% of Cresselia's health, especially because of the attack defense drop, I should say. But I'm going to be able to get to this Grass Knot here. It's going to do massive, super effective damage. And we should be able to Psycho Cut down there. So pretty close battle, honestly. But once again, because we won the lead, we were able to pull it off there. Moving on to the next one here, we have a Cresselia into an Alolan Muck. So I immediately go into my Alolan Muck right now. This is actually not a great situation for me because we are met with a Swampert. So we got hard countered on the lead and hard countered on the save swap. But because they were slightly slow to switch out, I'm hoping I can get to 2 Dark Pulses and at least get shield advantage in this matchup. We sneak the Snarl through. So if they throw the Hydro Cannon here, I should be able to get to a Dark Pulse. But that was very smart play on their part. They decided to go straight Earthquake because they knew that if I had no shield with the Hydro, then they would have probably had to invest a shield there. It's not looking good for me because we lost switch advantage. So I'm going to overfarm just a little bit and throw the Grass Knot. Probably could have done one extra Psycho Cut there. But we're going to throw the Grass Knot to get rid of this Swampert here. And I'm immediately going to switch to my Sneasler right now. Really hoping that Sneasler should be able to sweep whatever is in the back. But the unfortunate thing here is that on even shields, it's going to be very hard, right? If I had a shield advantage, we probably would have been able to do it because they have a Walrein in the back. And I'm forced to bait with X-Scissor here. I'm going to go for the X-Scissor bait, hoping to grab a shield, which we do, which is massive. And at this point, I'm going to definitely shield this up. I have to preserve my Sneasler to be able to get rid of this Alolan Muck. And I'm going to build up to the back-to-back close combats right now. Unfortunately, they barely outpace me to the Icicle Spear. I have to shield this. And it's not great going down 2 shields here. Right? I'm going to go for the close combat here. If they shield this, I should be able to get off the next one. But yeah, they actually let that go through. It one-shots the Walrein. I'm going to bank the close combat because I'm assuming that Sneasler should win CMP against Alolan Muck. So I go into my Cresselia right now. I'm going to throw the Moonblast here. And I'm just, my only win con is I need to get a shield in this matchup, right? Because only then I will be able to land a close combat. And I'm going to try and build up to this Moonblast. And I'm really hoping for a shield. If they no shield this, because they can survive a Moonblast from this range. And that's a very smart play on their part. They decide to no shield that. And at this point, this game is over because, again, it ends up being a CMP tie. I decided to go for the X-Scissor because, in hopes that I can get to 2 of those. But that was a CMP tie anyways, and they should be able to get off a Dark Pulse there. So that was very close, honestly. Not a lot I could have done. The only play there was to probably get a shield advantage in that mid-game matchup against Swampert. But yeah, they play that absolutely perfectly. Moving on to the next one here, we have a Giratina on the lead. So it's a good thing we caught Giratina on the lead, honestly, because Sneasler has a pretty poor matchup against Giratina. Even though you're going to hit for super effective with Shadow Claw, it completely walls Sneasler's charge moves, right? X-Scissor and Close Combat are both resisted. But anyways, we go for the Moonblast. We get a shield as well from we get the attack drop, and also it ends up being a Dragon Breath Giratina, which is nice, and also I get a Slack notification, which ends up messing up my screen recording for a couple of seconds, but that's okay. If you observe there, we actually got 2 debuffs from Moonblast, which is really nice because at this point, we don't have to invest any shields, and I should be able to get to this Moonblast, and they decide to let that go through, so we have switch and shield advantage at this point. So I immediately switch in my Alolan Muk here as they come in with their Alolan Ninetales, and they make a switch into their Scrafty, which is not that bad, especially Alolan Muk with an energy advantage can definitely put in a lot of work against Scrafty. As you can see, Sludge Wave does about 50% of Scrafty's health, and the best they can do in this matchup is go for counter. Power Up Punch, I should say. And because Foul Play is resisted, right? And I should be able to get to another Sludge Wave here. This is just going to be another Power Up Punch, which is obviously not going to KO from this range. And they're going to be forced to shield if they want to keep the Scrafty alive. I'm just going to go straight for the Sludge Wave here. And if we get a shield, that's even better because again, Sneasler with the 2 shield advantage is going to do really well. So obviously going to count my Sneasler right now because everything Scrafty has is resisted. Sneasler completely walls Scrafty, but I'm still going to shield this because a boosted Foul Play would do quite a bit of damage, but unfortunately they go for the Power Up on Shield Bait. So I'm going to overfarm just a little bit and throw the X-Scissor right now. X-Scissor is obviously neutral because of the Fighting Dark typing. Doesn't quite KO though, ends up being a CMP tie on the next Power Up Punch. I don't have to shield this, obviously resist it. Now it still does an okay amount of damage. I should be able to farm down, but they actually make a switch into the Alolan Ninetales. That's fine. I'm going to be able to get this close combat here. This is going to do massive neutral damage against this Alolan Ninetales. I immediately switch in my Cresselia. We have a shield advantage. I'm going to shield this up, and I'm really hoping that I can get to a Grass Knot before we get Charmed down, right? It's going to be very close. The Charm is doing so much damage, and I'm able to get to a Grass Knot here. Once again, hoping that Grass Knot actually KOs the Alolan Ninetales from this range, which it does. And back in comes Scrafty. They're not going to be able to counter down. They have to throw a move, and if they do, I should be able to Shadow Claw down with Sneasler, and they realize that, and they decide to concede the match there. So pretty close one, and another kind of sweaty battle. Honestly, a lot of these Ultra League battles are very drawn out and ends up being very close. So moving on to the next round here, we have another Talonflame in the lead. Very, very tricky situation. I go into my Alolan Muk this time. I mean, last time we saw that they actually stayed in, but this time they make a switch into their Swampert. So this is not looking good, honestly. Swampert, Talonflame in the lead with Swampert as the save swap is very, very difficult to manage here. So once again, trying to get to this Dark Pulse right now. They throw a move. If this is a Hydro Cannon, we should live this Hydro Cannon. But once again, that's very smart play. They go straight for Earthquake. So I come back with my Cresselia here, and then I'm not going to throw right away because we lose CMP. So we're going to farm up as much as we can and then go for the Grass Knot here. They actually go for another Earthquake, which is fine. And then we're going to farm up as much as we can and going for the Grass Knot here. And Grass Knot actually will take out the Swampert from this range. And I mean, sure, it does about 90% anyways. I'm just going to stay in my Cresselia and basically allow them to throw a move. We're going to tank this Flame Charge and then switch in my Sneasler. This is not a great situation to be in because both X-Scissor and Close Combat are resisted. And these Shadow Claws are definitely adding up, but those boosted Incinerates are absolutely tearing through Sneasler, right? I'm going to overfarm just a little bit, making sure that I throw on good timing here. I'm going for the X-Scissor Shield Bait right now. They probably are going to shield because they're probably not very familiar with Sneasler's movesets. So going to overfarm once again. Throwing the X-Scissor this time. They're probably hoping that we get a shield, which we do, which is massive because that's double resisted. And I'm going to shield this up, and I'm really hoping I can get to a Close Combat. Even though Close Combat is resisted, it's only single resisted. And with Stab, it should do enough resisted damage to take out the Talonflames from this range, right? As you can see, Close Combat does massive damage, and they have a Walrein in the back. Honestly, Walrein can be handled. I have Cresselia with a lot of loaded energy and quite a bit of health, so we're definitely not in Icicle Spear range. So I should be able to get to the next Grass Knot. Unfortunately, 2 Grass Knots doesn't KO the Walrein, right? And they should be able to get to an Earthquake before we can get to the next Grass Knot here. And they probably can get to 2 Icicle Spears as well. 1 Icicle Spear will probably not KO from this range, even though my Cresselia doesn't have the best PvP IVs. As you can see, they get to the second. We're probably like a couple of Psycho Cuts away from the next Grass Knot. So very close nevertheless, but yeah, we made it as close as we possibly could. Moving on to the next one here, we have Cresselia into a Shadow Machamp. Honestly, we're ABA strong against Machamp, so Machamp's definitely not an issue at all for this team. I go for the Moonblast right away. I mean, probably should have farmed up a little extra just in case they decided to catch. And they shield that, which tells me that they probably could be running Payback here, but I'm not going to shield this. It's okay, even if it's a Payback, we're going to tank it. It is a Payback, does massive, super effective damage. And I'm trying to get to a Moonblast here, but they go for a Cross Chop. And I'm hoping that Cross Chop doesn't KO, but obviously will, especially coming from a Shadow Machamp. If it wasn't from a regular Machamp, we probably would have survived that. That's okay. I can come in with my Sneasler and completely farm down, right? Again, Sneasler with this much of an energy advantage is going to be massive. Sneasler completely walls Machamp. Everything is resisted. Even if they had Rock Slide, that would be resisted too. And I should be able to fully farm down, but they make it to a last second cross chop. So I have to shield this. As you can see, those cross chops and counters, in spite of being resisted, really added up. And they have a Walrein in the back. This is absolutely massive for me. I should be able to get to 2 close combats here. Actually, the first close combat, they let that go through. So I immediately switched in my Alolan Mug to try and farm down. This is not going to be an Earthquake, just going to be an Icicle Spear here. And we have a ton of energy on our Sneasler as well, right? They have a Shadow Typhlosion in the back. That's okay. All I need to do is get a shield in this matchup, and as long as I do, I should be able to win this matchup here. I go for the next Dark Pulse. They don't throw right away, which is really nice for me, because at this point, this should force the final shield from the Typhlosion. Now I'm going to preserve a shield for the Sneasler, right? I'm not sure what wins CMP, whether it's Typhlosion or Sneasler, but as long as we have a shield advantage, we should be able to win this here. They actually decide to go for the extra Incinerate, because we had a shield advantage, but this close combat will absolutely take out the Typhlosion there, and then Walrein is going to go down to 1 Shadow Claw. So overall, as you can see, we actually went 4-1 in this team, which was pretty solid, honestly. I mean, did a couple of sets with this team, so I went positive overall. But I definitely feel like Sneasler has a lot of play, especially. It has a lot of closing potential, probably a pretty good option for the lead as well, as far as Open Ultra League is concerned, and definitely looking forward to using it a lot more when Ultra League comes back around the next time. But for now, I'm looking forward to trying out a lot more Hisuian Pokemon in the Hisuian Cup, which is pretty much a Sinnoh Cup with a layer of Hisuian Pokemon on top. But that's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.